So today we're here with
Steve Fritcher.
Steve. Who are your parents?
Bill and Margaret Fritcher.
Did you have any brothers and sisters?
I had 6.
Wow. Can you name them all?
Mike, Kenny, Patty, Bill, Cheryl, Mary.
Did sports play a role in your family?
Yes, we watched a lot of sports. We played a lot of sports. We lived across the street from the Lutheran school in Altamont, a playground, and played a lot of basketball, baseball, hockey when we were younger.
Where did you attend high school and what year did you graduate?
1982, I graduated from Altamont High School.
So what sports did you play in high school?
I played baseball.
Played baseball. Talk a little about that.
In those days, Altamont's squad just had a fall season. I think we might have played 11 or 12 games my senior year, so we didn't really play a lot. We were just kind of okay. I think other schools had spring seasons, but we didn't at the time. So we didn't get involved in the state series or anything like that. So it wasn't anything to brag about. We were just kind of okay, but we had a lot of fun.
Where did you attend college?
I started out at Lakeland right out of high school. It didn't do so well. Joined the service. I was in the service for about 5.5 years in the United States Army. After I got out of the service, I finished up my 2-year degree at Kaskaskia College, and then I matriculated to Eastern Illinois and got my 4-year degree there. And then eventually I got a master's degree from Rockford College.
So why did you decide that major?
I don't really remember all the details, but I'm sure it has something to do with my brother Bill being in education at the time, and I just maybe thought it was something that I could do and be good at. So I gave it a shot, gave it a whirl.
Who are some of your biggest role models?
I would say my mother and father. When I was growing up, I didn't realize probably that they were my role models, but they led by example. They worked a lot. They loved us. They cared for us, and 7 kids, and they were gone a lot, but just by leading by example, they worked hard, and I've worked pretty hard in my careers, and I show up on time, and I show up for work, and I think that's been ingrained in me from my mom and dad.
Talk about you were a teacher for a long time. Where did you start at, and what was the process of that?
Well, my senior year at college at Eastern, you get the publications that show you where the openings are, and there was an opening in Marshall, Illinois, and I applied for it and went over and interviewed sometime that spring, and I got the job. And in the time I was living in Neoga and drove about 55 minutes one way every day, so about 2 hours a day I drove to Marshall, and I did that for 1 year. Sometime in the spring of '95, I got a call from Dave Julius, who was the assistant principal at Teutopolis Junior High, where I had student taught in the fall of 1993. Got my foot in the door with T-Town, and he wanted to know what was on my certificate. And so I told him, and it made me feel pretty good and pretty excited that I thought maybe there was going to be a position that I would fit into, and lo and behold, there was. I still went through the interview process, but I was fortunate to get a job at T-Town. I loved it at Marshall. It was a great school system. Rick Manuel, the principal over there, was wonderful to me. But I was eager to come back to T-Town and be a part of that because I had been a part of it as a student teacher.
So what subject did you teach at T-Town?
T-Town, I initially taught geography and study skills, and then eventually I picked up some PE from time to time, but then I switched over to physical science the year that Wendy Habecourse retired. I picked it up from her probably about 8 years ago or 10 years ago or something like that.
So talk about how many years were you at T-Town?
I think about 23 or 24, something like that. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but somewhere like that.
What is it about teaching that you enjoy so much?
I love being around the kids. Those young minds kept me a little younger, I think. I loved challenging them. I loved helping them learn and have fun at the same time. I loved coaching them. I loved saying things in class once in a while, maybe even a joke where only a couple of them got it, and it was awesome that somebody got it. And anytime they could banter back and forth with an adult, I thought that was a positive for those kids. But I just love being around those kids in that age group, and I still love it, even though I haven't been doing it for a couple of years. I still love being around those kids.
We'll get right back to the teaching. I wanted to mention real quick, talk about growing up with your brother Bill. What was that like?
Bill and I were 15 months apart in age, and so we had a lot of the same friends. Not all of them, but most of them. We had the same bedroom basically growing up until we moved away. Whether I was in the service or he went to college. So we did a lot of things together every day in the summer, especially. We would play with the neighbor kids. We were right across the street from the Lutheran school. It was always like the Fritcher house was the home base to get the game started, and then we would go across the street and play a game, and we were always involved in that, and as we got a little bit older, maybe in high school, we didn't always have the same friends. He had a job and I had a different job, but we were always around each other all the time.
So Bill, of course, is a superintendent in Neoga High School, which he thoroughly enjoys that. He was at T10 for a long time. So now back to the teaching. Who were some of the coworkers that you got to work with at Teton High, at the junior high?
Well, I student taught with Pete Hatfill and Bill Schnabel back in 1993, and then I came on board, and some of the teachers at that time, Kathy Blummer was there, Wendy Havikhorst, Mick Daters, Sandy Fisher, Sue Schulteis. And we were all together at the grade school then, so I got to know Dan Niemerg and Ben Wesselman, Bob Lee, Marge Wiesing, Kevin Cranston, Craig Linval, Jim Hackman, the principal, Dave Julius, assistant principal. I'm not sure if I'm leaving anybody out there, but I know I taught later with some Jeannie Gaddis, who was a student of mine, Sheila Yago, Kent Prupst was there as well, almost left Kent out.
There's so many of them.
There are. But it was great to be with all of them. It was such a great team, and I'm sure it's still a great team, even though I'm not there. They just picked right up. It was a great team before I got there. I'm sure it's a great team after I was there. So I just was part of the team for a while. So
Steve was a very good teacher, and he obviously was one of my teachers back when I was in junior high. That was a good time.
Yeah.
Talk about a little bit about, so you were not only a teacher, but you were also a track coach. Explain that a little bit.
Well, as a male in the junior high setting, you're gonna probably coach something whether you participated in that activity or sport growing up or not. And so I started out doing as the baseball coach and the boys track coach for up until I think so from 95 to 2001 I was both, and then I stepped away in 2001, and Kent Nieberg took over for me and has taken the junior high program to wonderful heights.
Yeah, he's done a heck of a job.
That was a good move on my part to let him take over, I think. So
What obstacles do you face in teaching?
Kids that are smarter than you, and it happened with me a lot. So you had to make sure you were challenging all those kids, and the kids that might struggle, the kids that were in the middle, and the kids that were brighter than you. I know I was older than them. They were going to have lots more capabilities than me someday, and it wasn't hard to figure out the kids that were in that category, and you had to challenge them somehow, some way, every day. You had to make them think and figure things out, and then in some cases you had to help kids figure it out. And get there. And it didn't matter to me whether it was an A student or a C student. If they got it, it was a great feeling. Same thing with coaching track and field. It didn't matter if you came in first or you came in fifth. If it was your best time or distance ever, I was completely satisfied. And that was the beauty of coaching track and field.
So I want to hit on this really big. Talk about, as a teacher and as a coach, how do you manage two different things?
Well, it's not easy. You have to look ahead, and you have to plan ahead to make sure that you get the things done that need to be done, and you can't wait till the last minute on things. And as far as track and field, Bill Schnabel and I, and then Jill Spohr and Ben Wesselman were the coaches early on. We worked those kids hard, and I don't think they always enjoyed it so much, but we kept working them throughout the season, and then we would eventually be able to beat some relay teams or some teams that had gotten us earlier in the year, because we kept working and we kept getting better. Same thing with education. You continue to build on things as you grow, and as you go throughout the year, and you get better and better at things. And it's a learning process, not just about geography or study skills or track, but about life.
Tell me about the competitiveness that you have in you.
Well, and I don't think people realized so much as competitive as I was. Now, like I said, Bill Schnabel and I, we were demanding on track and field, and we worked kids hard. And there were kids that wanted to sit out, and there were kids that wanted to not do that particular sprint, and get back in there. Let's go. You can do it. Let's go. And so, but that competitiveness probably came out more for me in coaching basketball. I'm not sure people realized I was the way I was. I wasn't the easiest guy to play for. I demanded a lot. I had high expectations. I grew up in Altamont, and I know what happened to me in sports when I played T-Town growing up. And so, I knew they were good at things. And the expectations from parents and grandparents and the community are way up there. And so, I kind of was that way too, but I don't know that people realized it until they saw me coaching basketball. So, like I said, I got after it when I coached, and I expected them to do the right thing and to do the best that they could do. And if they didn't know, to ask. And if I had to get on them, I didn't really care who was in the stands. It was my job to get these kids to perform to their best, and I took that job very seriously, whether it be science or geography or basketball or track or softball or baseball or whatever. So it was all those things.
Tell me about umpiring at the junior high.
I've been doing some B-game umpiring for Kent Niebrigi for quite a few years now, 6 to 8 maybe, and I've done some Park District stuff for him. And that has allowed me the last couple of years especially to still be with the kids that I like being around, and I love helping. I was a catcher by trade growing up, and so I'm kind of partial to the catchers and try to help them out and scoot them closer to the batter or closer to the plate or whatever, and I try to help them out. I don't try to coach. That's the coach's job, but I try to help, and I want to see these kids have fun and learn at the same time, and I've really enjoyed doing that.
What advice would you give to a younger kid wanting to go into the education and teaching field?
Make sure that's what you want to do first. It's not easy to figure that out when you've never done it, but talk to some people maybe that have done it, some people that you trust. It's not easy. People that have not done that job don't really understand the demands on a person if they do it right. And what I mean by that is you have to immerse yourself in that occupation, and it is a complete job. And I'll be honest, I taught with some people that I don't think immersed themselves. Most of the people that I taught with did, but you have to come home every day and you have to do things, and you have to either prepare for class or sport or whatever, and it doesn't stop, and it doesn't stop in the summer either. You have to continue to get better and take classes, and that's your job. You can't. I shouldn't be teaching the same way 25 years later as I did in 1995. You have to continue to get better, and that's a challenge, and it's something that people need to take very seriously.
Are you still in touch with a lot of your fellow coworkers?
I am. I probably talked to Kevin Niemerg, Kent Niebrigi, Bill Schnabel the most. I've seen Jeannie Gaddis at Ball Diamonds. I've seen Sheila Gago a time or two. And I saw Kent Preps just yesterday at my place of business. I see Jim Hackman from time to time. I saw Dave Julius here the other day. I haven't seen him in a long time. So the beauty of that phone right over there is that I can contact him at any time I want. I didn't always used to be that way. So unfortunately, I don't see him as much as I would like, but you get busy with things, and it is what it is. But yeah, I miss them. I miss the adults. I miss the kids. I miss a lot of parts of it, but I'm not disappointed in my decision.
At what age did you become interested in wanting to be a teacher in the first place?
Well, I was probably, I would guess, 26 when I got out of service, right around there, 26, 27.
Wow.
Something like that.
Wow. So at the junior high level, what was your biggest expectations of yourself to, okay, I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that. Did you achieve those goals, or were you not quite there yet?
I always wanted to get a master's degree, and I did that. And the master's degree I got was called Masters in the Art of Education. And so we took a lot of classes that were gave you strategies to be more successful in class, and it was practical application of things that you would create and you could take back to your classroom and use. I really didn't have any aspirations when I first became a teacher to be a coach. It just kind of happened, and but I took it seriously, and then I tried to get better. But I had influences like Kent Nieberge and Doug Smith and Michael Beaning and Maria Tegler. I mean, Bill Schnabel. I mean, I've had some great people to work for and with, and it's made it a lot easier. Still tough, but made it a lot easier.
If you weren't teaching, what do you think you would be doing?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I would guess I'd probably be working with kids somewhere, somehow, maybe as a counselor. I think I have a pretty good rapport with kids, and I was able to help kids get through some situations as a non-professional counselor, if you will. And I don't know what that job all involves, but probably with some kids. I love being around the kids.
When you talk to young kids, they always ask me, whenever we were back in junior high, my gosh, he's so good at helping kids out in so many different ways. I wanted to ask you this real quick. So when you go from the junior high level and you come from the college level to the junior high level teaching, what is the biggest change for you?
Well, you have to know what the classes that I had kids that were way at the top, and I had kids that were way at the bottom sometimes, and all kinds of kids in between, and you have to be able to reach all of them every day. And so that to me was a big challenge in the classes that I taught. I think some of the math classes, you get all the kids that are in this class and all the kids that are in this class. In the classes that I taught, you had them all every day, and it was a challenge sometimes to make sure that every child was learning what they needed to learn. So,
Steve, is there anything else you would like to share or mention that we didn't get to talk about?
Well, I can't think of it. I thank you for doing this with me, Tyler. I've seen a lot of your videos, and I appreciate what you do.
Well, I appreciate you allowing me to come talk with you and share your story.
Sure.
This is Steve Fritcher, retired Teutopolis Junior High teacher, and I look forward to sharing many other stories. But Steve, I had a great time talking with you.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you very much.